The purpose of this video is to share an interesting story about the creativity and unique culture of Cambodia, with no intention to insult or discriminate. Have you ever thought that a tiny iron fish, about the length of 3 finger joints and weighing around 2 ounces, could make the whole world stir? This is a true story, and it was clearly demonstrated in Cambodia. In Cambodia, there is a province called Canaan, which borders Vietnam's An Giang. In 2008, people in this province began to gossip about something miraculous: an iron fish. It wasn't thrown into boiling water to eat, but to save lives. No, you didn't hear it wrong. This is an iron fish, not made from any other material. It sounds like a fairy tale invention, but in reality, it is a secret weapon against an iron deficiency curse in Cambodia. The World Health Organization once released a report that sent chills down people's spines. Based on data from 2011, it was reported that nearly 60% of pregnant women and more than 40% of Cambodia's population suffer from anemia due to iron deficiency. To put it simply, imagine your body as a car and your blood as gasoline. If your body runs out of fuel, you feel exhausted, dizzy, and after a few steps, you might even collapse. That's what anemia feels like. For pregnant women, it's much more terrifying, as the risk of postpartum hemorrhage increases significantly, and babies aren't spared from this. In 2010, UNICEF reported that more than half of the children under the age of 5 in Cambodia suffer from anemia. Anemia slows growth, hampers brain development, and leaves the future bleak. But why do Cambodians suffer from iron deficiency, and what does it have to do with this iron fish? The answer lies in their diet. The majority of Cambodia's population lives in poverty. Daily meals usually consist of white rice, a few slices of fish from the Mekong River or Tonle Sap Lake. Rice may be delicious and indispensable, but it contains almost no iron. Beef, animal liver, or leafy greens rich in iron are a luxury. Most rural families consume red meat no more than twice a month. Furthermore, hookworms, nasty parasites, flourish in rural areas, drawing blood from the intestines and worsening the iron deficiency. So, what can be done? How can they increase their iron levels to prevent anemia? But how to supplement iron? If there's not enough meat to eat, who can afford iron supplements? That's when a story emerged in 2008. A 28-year-old Canadian named Christopher Jack List travelled to Cambodia, to the Canaan province bordering An Giang, with a dream: to bring iron to the blood of the Cambodian people. He had known for a long time that cooking with cast iron pots could increase the iron content in food. Scientific studies have shown that food cooked in cast iron pots contains 5 to 10 times more iron than food cooked in aluminum pots, as the iron leaches into the food while cooking. However, cast iron pots were not common in Cambodia because they were heavy and much more expensive than aluminum pots. Convincing Cambodians to switch to cast iron was, therefore, impractical. So he came up with a strange idea. Instead of using cast iron pots, why not use tiny iron powder and throw it into a pot of boiling water, the same cooking pot Cambodians use every day? The iron would release iron ions into the soup, rice, or water, providing 6 to 10 milligrams of iron per use, covering 50 to 75% of the daily requirement. He made 250 small iron cubes, either square or round, from recycled scrap metal at a foundry in Phom Pank. Each cube weighed 2 ounces and cost $50 to produce. He distributed them for free to families in Canaan, instructing them to put the iron cube into their cooking pot for 10 minutes and add a few drops of lemon juice, as vitamin C helps absorb iron better. But life wasn't as easy as it seemed. After 3 months, only about 1 in 10 families used the iron cubes regularly. Many people discarded them, some used them as doorstops, and others gave them to children as toys. He was heartbroken. Why? It turned out the iron cubes looked ugly, and no one believed they were effective. He realized that science alone wasn't enough, and that he needed to do something that would resonate with Cambodians. He sat down with experienced elders from Canaan, listening to their tales about the tricantrop. This was a mythical fish that brought good fortune, health, and wealth in Cambodia. Fish were an essential part of Khmer culture. He then had the idea to cast the iron cubes into the shape of a fish, 7.6 centimeters long. The fish looked charming and cheerful. In 2008, the first 500 iron fish were made and distributed for free in Canaan province. This time, 85% of families used them regularly after 6 months. The formula was simple: science combined with culture. He wasn't alone in this effort. In 2012, a fellow countryman joined him, turning this project into a larger initiative. They hired dozens of Cambodian workers to cast the iron fish from scrap metal at foundries near Phnom Penh. The production cost of each fish was $5, but it was sold in wealthier countries for $25. There was an interesting condition. People in developed countries would buy one fish and donate another to a poor family in Cambodia. Immediately, the company started making a profit. By 2014, just 2 years after the company was established, they had made a profit of $860,000 after producing tens of thousands of fish. The results for Cambodians were remarkable. The iron fish not only became popular in Cambodia, but by 2020, the company had distributed 250,000 iron fish to 70 countries, from India, where more than half of women suffer from anemia, to Canada, where nearly 10% of pregnant women have iron deficiency. One fish lasts for 5 years, releasing 6 to 8 milligrams of iron each time, equivalent to a 2-ounce steak. It's safe, doesn't make the food taste metallic, and is non-toxic unless you intentionally cook the fish for an entire day. Some restaurants in Canada, including those in Toronto, even created cocktails with water boiled from the iron fish, making for an unusual, unique drink. However, not everyone liked it. In some villages in Canaan province, people began to worry that the fish might damage their pots or bring bad luck. To address this, companies organized dozens of instructional sessions, inviting village elders and local leaders to try cooking soup with the iron fish. Gradually, people got used to it and even became addicted to it. However, not all stories are without problems. The origin of the scrap metal made some people uneasy. Many of the metals came from old cars, machinery, or worse, from weapons used during the Khmer Rouge period, when millions of people died in the genocide. Even though the metal was carefully recycled, some people were still afraid of bad luck and ghosts. This may sound strange, but in a country that has suffered so much, this fear is understandable. Dirty water was another issue. In Cambodia, more than half of rural wells are contaminated with arsenic, which hinders iron absorption, reducing the effectiveness of the iron fish. As a result, some people used the iron fish for an entire year without noticeable results. Distribution was also a challenge. In remote provinces, only a few poor families received the iron fish because the shipping costs were prohibitively high. Meanwhile, in Phnom Penh, the capital of Cambodia, the iron fish became a trendy item, with prices reaching up to several dozen dollars per fish. Despite the controversy, the ironfish remains an incredible innovation, thanks to its deep understanding of Cambodian culture. Fish are an important symbol in Cambodia, and the country's currency is even named after fish. The ironfish also appears in ancestor worship rituals. The fish shape, with its friendly smile, became highly beloved by the people. A 2014 survey showed that 8 out of 10 Cambodians placed the ironfish on their altars when they weren't cooking, viewing it as a lucky charm. As of 2025, approximately 500,000 ironfish have been distributed worldwide, helping 2.5 million people supplement their iron levels. This is an impressive number, but there is still a long road ahead. They have even tested a new version of the ironfish, such as one with a rust-proof coating, which increases production costs but eliminates concerns about using metal from the war era. There's also a unique idea of creating limited edition ironfish engraved with designs from Angkor Wat. These are not intended for poor families, but for the wealthy, sold in developing countries to raise funds for Cambodia's poor. Thank you for listening to this long and somewhat fun story about the ironfish in Cambodia. If you found it interesting, please click the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share. Now, I'd like to say goodbye for now.